I'm Nicole and this is my cat Olive, and today we are going to go over some tips and tricks on how to pose your subject, especially if you're just starting out in photography. These are images that I took earlier today of my friend Dia. The first thing I do when I get to a shoot is I try to get there before my client, and I always try to find the best lighting area. So especially if you're a beginner, it will really help to shoot your subject in the shade, and that will make her face have an even glow to it. I don't recommend shooting in harsh light just because your subject is gonna have shadows all over their face. We are going to just go over some basic poses that I like to do with my clients. So typically this is what your client will look like when you first start. And some clients are naturally good at posing, others are gonna expect you to give them a lot of direction. So one of my favorites to start with is I just ask the client to put their hands in their pockets. I feel like automatically it just looks clean. It's a simple go-to, it works no matter who you're shooting, so I always recommend this to start. I did want to highlight my client's mid to long hair, so I asked her to put that hair behind her ear, and I'll ask her to do it over and over again and just kind of smiling, looking at me. And then this is essentially the same shot, but I asked her to cross her legs a little bit more. Here I asked her to bring that right hand down and put her left hand on her hip. From here, I just have her look over her shoulder. And some clients, they want serious and laughing, so I like to give them a mixture of everything. I was really lucky though with this client because she's just naturally laughing. She's very happy during our session. When you're shooting them, don't be afraid to get close to them so that way you can really switch the shot up like this one. You can ask them to look over their shoulder. And another thing too is when it comes to longer hair, some people like their hair in front, some prefer one side in front, some clients prefer everything behind. So it's important to ask them. If they're unsure, then just switch it off. So this one I had one side in front, and then I brought both to the front and then both behind. That way when you give them the gallery, they can decide which photos they like best. As a photographer, you're gonna shoot images and you're gonna think they're really good, but what really matters is that your client is happy with them. That's my personal opinion. Some people might not agree, but that's okay. I also like to ask them to turn their shoulders away from me and look back over their shoulder at me. Ask them to smile, lean back a little bit. Talking to them and encouraging them will get them to laugh or asking them about their day. So that's these images. One thing that also really helps me is I'm continuously shooting. During this part, she knew I was taking a picture of her, but then we were talking and I was like, you look great, and giving her encouragement. She started laughing just because of that moment. It's not something I instructed her to do. I feel like some people just stop. They stop taking pictures because they're like, okay, well, I'm waiting, but I always encourage people keep taking photos because you're gonna end up getting images like this. So this is just me continuing to shoot during that time. Don't be afraid to try new ideas. I initially thought that I would like this picture. I do like to do a variety of sitting and standing. I asked her to sit down and put her elbows kind of back and lean back. Now in post-production, I'm realizing I don't really like this image. I think my model is gorgeous, but I think the pose could have been better. Some things aren't gonna come out the way you envisioned it, and that's okay. And also I encourage my clients to bring at least 2 outfits to their shoot. So not only do you get more to add to your portfolio, but also the client is more satisfied because now they're getting a range of images. I like providing the most value as I can. So by just having her bring this blazer and put it on for a couple shots, it looks like 2 totally different shots. Looking at me, looking over her shoulder, hands in the pockets. This is another example of me just shooting when she's not really expecting it. And that's just continuing to shoot. I might be an overshooter, but then of course she wanted to do some silly ones. And for me, I like giving my client what they paid me for, which is professional branding images. But I also like to deliver their personality, who they really are. So if you get any goofy images of them, don't be afraid to just give those to them as well. And just so you guys know, I am shooting on Canon R6, 50mm lens the whole time. My f is 1.6 and my shutter is 1/1000. ISO is 100. I thought blazer over the shoulder would be really good, especially if you're doing business type shoots. You can also do some walking ones. We actually shot this outside of a coffee shop, and so this big obnoxious pole to the right, I'm not in love with it, but I still thought it was a nice walking shot. But here I feel like it's a lot better. It's essentially the same shot, but not only are her feet not cut off here, but also the pole's out of the way. So she's really the main subject, opposed to this one, it's like, what are we looking at here? Are we looking at her? Are we looking at the pole? What's going on? So I probably won't end up giving her this image. I'll stick to this one. As your subject's walking towards you, I always recommend that they walk either in a straight line or kind of cross their feet as they walk. Tell her to turn around, you know. We switch the blazer here, not required, but optional. Little tiny details like her grabbing the blazer just makes it more interesting of a shot. Arms crossed is always good for professional images. Just tilted my body a little bit to get basically the same shot but different angle. And then hair behind the ears. And because my model Dia is a makeup artist, I did want to do some with her eyes closed just to show off her natural makeup here. I think we ended with some of her from the side. So I always ask my subject, I'm like, turn your shoulders away from me, but your head at me. If their hands are down by their sides, they just get cut out. So I always ask them to bring their hands like around right to their belly button, bring them together and almost like they're knitting, and just turn and look at me and smile. So that's what the instruction I gave her. This is what we got. Asked her to smile bigger, smile as much as she can. This is another one that I would end up delivering. I didn't ask her to do this, but she was having a good time. So I want her to remember that. I always ask my client, like, is it okay if I come up and adjust your hair? So that was that. And serious as well. So that's pretty much the whole shoot, guys. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, and let me know if you want to see more videos like this. So good luck at your next shoot.